Hey guys, Paul with Big Easy Modeling Solutions, and I just wanted to have a quick discussion about a topic that came up on our previous video where we were demonstrating the lighting effect for the 50th anniversary TOS lighting kit that we're working on. And in the previous video, we were really focusing on trying to show just the internal lights, because that's actually where the program is. The program doesn't actually affect the spin rate of the motors at all. That has to be done externally. And so a lot of people said that to them it looked like the motors are spinning too fast. The motors that we use are geared for 6 volts at 60 RPMs. So that means if you put 6 volts into them, they should spin roughly 60 RPMs. And the research that we did in designing this light kit, the reason that we chose these motors is because the research says that the original nacelle caps spun actually at about 60 RPMs. So technically this should be pretty spot on with what was on the original show. But some people seem to remember it going a little slower. Some people even think it went a little faster. And the truth is, they varied the frame rates on the film for the show quite a bit, depending on the amount of time they needed to show it. And since they used so much stock footage, if they had a 30-second piece of stock footage but they needed to squeeze it into 20 seconds and get the entire effect in there, they would just speed up the film. So that had the effect of making the Bussards look like they were spinning faster, or opposite. You know, if they needed a little bit more time, they would slow it down just a little bit, and that would affect the frame rate. We're dealing with, 1960s technology in that sense, and film technology, so it's very easy to understand how people could remember the speed being whatever, either faster, slower, or 60 RPMs. But we wanted to get as close to what the model says as possible, so we went with the 60 RPM motors. Now, if you do want to change it, which ultimately the important thing is that you build what makes you happiest and what you remember the best. So don't worry about what I say is the official rate or anybody else says is the official rate. Build it to suit your idea of what you want the model to do and look like. So if you want to slow it down, we're going to show you a way to do that today. Alright? The issue with the motors that we use, alright, is they are 60 RPMs at 6 volts. So the only way to slow them down is to reduce the voltage current that goes into the motor itself. You can do that with a resistor. Resistors present some problems in that they're not always consistent from one to the next. Temperature can affect a resistor, all kinds of different issues. So using resistors might make it challenging for both motors to reduce equally in speed. You can figure out a variable resistor like a potentiometer. That's one way to try to do it too. A capacitor would help even out the current flow if you're using resistors and potentiometers. So you could design a circuit that would allow you to do that with a potentiometer, and that's one way to do it. And if you can do it that way, great. I'll show you an easier way here today. So that's this little guy right here, and this is a PWM variable speed fan motor controller board. I got it at Amazon. It was something between, I don't know, $5 and $10, something like that. They have different ones, and I just picked one that looked like a pretty solid board at a good value. So you can actually hook up both of your motors to the same board. That's perfectly fine. Alright, and all you do with this little guy is turn the potentiometer, and I'm turning it down now, and you can see quite clearly that the motor is slowing down. So I can slow it all the way down to where it's a slow crawl, and then all the way to where you can turn it off. Alright, then you can flip it back on, start dialing it up, and get it all the way back up to the 5 volts it was running before. So at 5 volts, that's as fast as it'll go. And if you hook up 2 fan motors, it's actually going to divide the voltage to both motors, so you might have a little voltage drop, and it may not be fast enough. You may have to hook it up to a 9 volt current line, or a 12 volt, whatever your main current to your lighting effects board is. you can do that with the speed controller and hook your fans into that. Just be careful if your motors are designed for 6 volts. You don't want to run them constantly at 12 and really fast. For a couple of seconds it's probably okay, but if you leave them running too long, you could burn out the motor since they're geared for a lower voltage and a lower RPM. So just be kind of aware of that. But you can always control how fast they go with the potentiometer. Again, just don't turn them up too high for too long. Like I said, you could probably get away with it for a couple of seconds without burning them up. But anyway, so this is an easy solution and an inexpensive solution. Hopefully it helps give you an idea of how you can control it yourself, and hopefully this helps you out. So appreciate you watching and taking the time on this discussion, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask us anytime, and make sure you check us out at www.bigeasymodeling.solutions.com. Thanks for watching.